What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And the New York Giants signed Parris Campbell this offseason, a move that we both really liked, a low-key, one-year, incentive-laden deal. Parris Campbell coming off of his first fully healthy season in 2022 with the Indianapolis Colts, the fourth season of his career, finally played 17 games and set new career highs in every major statistic, and the Giants went ahead, signed him to this one-year deal this offseason, and have been utilizing him in some pretty exciting ways at OTAs so far. He's been lining up inside, outside, and even in the backfield with Saquon Barkley absent from practice. They've been giving Parris Campbell some handoffs at running back. Now, Parris Campbell recently talked about his time with the New York Giants so far and said that he's seen some major positives with the team, and he's really excited to get going this upcoming season. We're going to go ahead and discuss why we should all be excited about Parris Campbell on the New York Giants this upcoming year. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And what are your thoughts on Parris Campbell at OTAs?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, look, this team has me getting increasingly, progressively more excited and optimistic because a lot of guys are coming out of the woodworks and saying, this culture is different. These guys care. Like, these coaches care. And there's a couple of things I wanted to discuss about this specifically and what Parris Campbell had to say about the culture and one of the most positive things he's seen so far. And it's that the coaches have created personal relationships with each individual player. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Anthony posted something to our Instagram yesterday about Brian Daboll and Darius Slayton. Brian Daboll goes up to him and says, remember where you were last year, week 1? Weren't even starting, man. Like, you weren't even on the team. Like, you were fighting your way onto it. And I'm proud of you. Like, he literally, that's like sometimes, that's all you need to hear. And like Daboll kind of has this like father figure allure to him. And it's like him coming up to you and saying, I'm so proud of you and so proud of how hard you work to get to where you are. That just like hits home, man. That hits you in the heart. And you want to fight for guys like that. I think these players are going to fight for each other. They're going to fight for their coaches, that extra yard, that extra 2 yards. They're going to grind it out because they want it more than the other guy. You watch teams that win Super Bowls, it's because they want it more than their opposition, and they're willing to lay their bodies on the line to get it done. I think the Giants have that now. I think that in the past they may have, fallen short or not cared. They were losing games. There's no reason. You're just trying to get paid. Now it's about more than money, man. I mean, there's a reason the Giants and general manager Joe Schoen have convinced multiple players to take, as you mentioned, heavy incentive-laden deals. And Parris Campbell, 1 year, $4.7 million deal. I think he can make up to $7, maybe more than that, $1 million. So he has to have a career season to hit all of those, not all of them, but a majority of the significant bonuses. He's got to have career years. And that's pretty insane to me that like he would accept that level of trust in himself and find that he was convinced to have the best season of his entire career after playing a full 17 games for the first time in his career last season to bet on himself that big. And I respect that from him, but I also respect the fact that the Giants were able to convince him that that was a good move because they're going to give him the opportunities to win those jobs, to win that starting slot position, to get a substantial sample size. Like, we've been hearing Darren Waller comment all week and what Waller's been saying about this team and what he's been saying about himself. There was a narrative going around from the Raiders saying that he didn't care, like he was just kind of lazy, like he didn't really give a crap. The guy clearly cares. And then you hear Andy Bischoff, our tight ends coach, coming out and saying, hey, like Darren Waller studies AJ Green. He studies some of the best receivers the game has seen because he thinks like a receiver, but he's no spring chicken when it comes to run blocking or doing inline tight end stuff either. There's just a lot of cultural positives that are coming out of this squad right now. I want to read you the quote from Parris Campbell right now. He said, it's been great. I've enjoyed my time here thus far. The culture was the first thing that stood out to me. It's really a family atmosphere, from the guys in the locker room to the coaching staff to the front office, just everyone. You can kind of feel that family nature. I've been just trying to buy in since day one, but I've enjoyed myself. They've welcomed me like one of their own. It's been a good time thus far. And for him to say that, considering the Giants are 1 year, guys, 1 freaking year into building this new culture, into Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen's impact, and Wink Martindale and Mike Kafka and all of these guys, Andre Patterson and Andy Bischoff and some of the tremendous coaches, Jerome Henderson. The fact that these guys already feel like they've been there for years, they feel like they're being welcomed by a family that really only started a year ago, says a lot to me about the people we have in this organization, the people that are running the front office, and the people that are making the decisions. So Anthony, based on what I've said, based on what Parris Campbell said, how are you feeling about it? Because I know that this culture, it feels different. We've seen a lot of losing football. This doesn't feel like losing football to me.
No, it doesn't feel like losing football. It feels like winning football, and we saw some winning football from the New York Giants last year. Of course, they had their first winning season since 2016, won their first postseason game since 2012. The Giants are back to winning football, and I think that's really important because not only does it mean they're a more successful team, but it also means that these players are going to buy in. They want to be here long term, and now we're attracting free agents from elsewhere, right? We talked to Bobby Okereke on the channel, and he discussed that he wanted to come to New York. There was a quote from him earlier this offseason where he said that he told his agent immediately he wanted to play for the Giants, and he discussed Brian Daboll, how he had a phone call with Brian Daboll, and how everything just kind of fell into place for him, and how the stars aligned. That's the quote that he said to us. The stars aligned. The New York Giants were where he belonged. And that's the case for Bobby Okereke. That's the case for Parris Campbell. That's the case for everybody that the New York Giants have signed recently. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Brian Daboll is here building a culture of winning football. And so when you hear Parris Campbell discuss a family relationship, says it feels like a family here, it's very important, especially when you consider how it looked just before Brian Daboll was here. Now, I was a big believer in Joe Judge, but we've gotten a lot of information now following the firing of Joe Judge that it wasn't much of a family atmosphere, and it was more of a totalitarian rulers atmosphere with Joe Judge at the helm. So big difference in the culture here. The Giants now finally seem to be on the right track. And again, you got to give a bunch of credit to Brian Daboll for being the leader that he is and getting this team in the position that it's in. And it's not necessarily a surprise if you've been following Brian Daboll throughout his career. Go look at what Buffalo Bills players have said about him back when he was the offensive coordinator over there, when he was the OC over at Alabama as well. Everywhere that he goes, he gets glowing reviews, not just from personnel or from the front office and from other coaches. He gets it from the personnel, from the players themselves. They always give Brian Daboll a glowing review. Bobby Okereke said that he had friends of his who were on the Bills that told him, "You're going to love Coach Daboll. Go there. You're going to love him." So again, Brian Daboll is the main pulling force attracting players to this team, and he is the main catalyst behind this new culture that's being developed here for the New York Giants. So when you're looking at it from all the different angles of where the Giants have been over the past decade with all of the losing that they've endured, when you're looking at it from how the players have rather frequently wanted to get out of here, Landon Collins being a good example of that, wanted to get out of here when Dave Gettleman was here. Now look at it from how all the players want to be here and feel like they're part of a family here. I think that it is very important. So these quotes from Parris Campbell, yes, they absolutely excite me, but they kind of just build on what I already know and what we've already learned throughout this past year or so with Brian Daboll as the head coach. The Giants are building a new culture, and it's one that should sustain success and should sustain winning football for the next several seasons, which is, of course, all we really want at the end of the day. We want the New York Giants winning football games. But I will say, back in those dark years that weren't so dark, right? 2014, 13, 15, somewhere in that range, when Odell Beckham Jr. just joined the team, Tom Coughlin was still the head coach. We were losing a lot of football games, but we were still competitive. And for some reason, I never remembered it being such a dark, bleak moment during those losing years. It was always like, oh, the Giants are going to turn around. They're going to turn around. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Tom Coughlin was still the head coach. But once Tom Coughlin was let go, that's when things really changed for the New York Giants. And that's when they really struggled to get back to being the New York Giants, struggled to find that Giants way. And so I do think that it really just comes down to who is your leader? Who is your head coach? Can they bring in that Giants way? And for me, that's what Brian Daboll has done. When you look at what we had with Pat Shurmur, not the Giants way. Not the Giants way with Joe Judge. He really tried to bring in that old school Giants way, but he failed. But we really see now that the Giants way that succeeded for Tom Coughlin and that is succeeding for Brian Daboll right now is to create a family environment and to create a football team that feels like more than just a football team. I think that's what's really important. So, Alex, when you're looking at the different cultures that the Giants have had over the last several years, dating back from Tom Coughlin to Shurmur to Judge, and now Daboll, what's the big difference that you see, and why does that instill so much confidence in you?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I kind of referenced this earlier. We've learned a lot as fans and as, podcasters about, and, we're young, right? Like I'm 26 and you're 22 now, 21, you're 21. So, when you think about how little experience we have analyzing this team at a high level, it gives you some perspective. I feel like I've learned a lot about what bad football looks like. I know you can say the same, and a lot of us can say the same. A lot of the younger fans, I know a lot of the older fans have a lot of experience seeing what bad football, what bad organizations look like. So some of you guys hit it on the head, even when we didn't know. You called it out, and you were 100% right. So I want to give you credit for that for sure. But I know you guys agree with us in this, in that what we're seeing right now doesn't feel like it did the past couple of years. Will it ultimately result in success? It's hard to tell. It's impossible to say. But I'll say this, it's different than what we have seen. And anything different than what we've seen, especially as positive as it's been, as it's looked, is a step in the right direction, in my opinion. And the most obvious points of, kind of change have been the financial allocations. The Giants are not aimlessly spending anymore. They're not going out into free agency and trying to plug major holes. They are strategically placing contracts in specific areas to boost positions that have been weaknesses for a very long time. We're not showing our hand. There's not a lot of leaks coming anymore. We used to know what was happening, when was going on, what was going to happen a long time before it did. And that's not really the case. Like, we just don't know until it's kind of happening or it's getting really close to it, and like kind of like just slight rumors, which is a good thing. It means that it gives us leverage. When we're trying to trade up for a guy, when we're trying to move and try to get a free agent, they can't use that against us because they don't know. You know what I mean? Like, other teams don't know. So with that being said, I feel like they've tightened ship. I feel like there is a lot more of a player-coach relationship building variable going on here, where these guys really care. They want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, think about some of the players that we've signed. Campbell, incentive laden, wanting to be on a team and betting big on himself. Like, that says a lot to me. A'Shawn Robinson, Raheem Nunez-Roche, these guys coming from Super Bowl caliber teams to a team that's budding, maybe second tier right now by most accounts, but has the potential to jump to that top tier if they can, if this progress continues to build. Saquon Barkley is dying to come back. Like, he does not want to leave. He's like, I really just want to find a compromise here. Like, he doesn't want to go to another team. I respect the hell out of that from him. Like, he really wants to be with the Giants. He's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on bad teams trying to carry this offense. And from a personal perspective, I think he deserves to be here when we succeed. I just want it to be on a reasonable, fair contract that doesn't that's in line with what modern negotiations and modern tactics have in store. With that being said, there's a lot of other players that want to be here. You see Jalen Hyatt, man, like, third round, Giants take him, and he's like, I just want to be here. Like, they gave me a chance. Like, some people were saying he was a first round pick. A lot of players we've brought in, they just see the instant impact of this culture. So what's being said oftentimes is not true, and we've fallen ill before to the hype, rah narratives. And I think that that's important to notice and important to, kind of incorporate into our overall perspective. But we know what the coaching quality is right now, right? Like, in the past, we really were surviving off of a couple of players and big contracts and free agent spending. But I'll say this, our roster sucked last year, guys. Like, we can all acknowledge we probably had one of the worst rosters in football. We had the slowest receiver time. We just did not have the talent to be a competitive squad, and we won a freaking playoff game with that. That tells me two things. These players give a shit. They care. They want to win. They want to do it for each other. But the coaches are so good that we put them in a position to succeed. We didn't have any cornerbacks for like half the year. Adoree Jackson was out. Like, we did not have talent. Our wide receivers were probably the worst in football. With that being said, we've taken a big step forward. Most of our rookie class was injured. I mean, how many of them? Marcus McKethan, Darian Beavers, Evan Neal missed time. Kayvon Thibodeau missed the first couple of weeks. All these, Wan'Dale Robinson, gets knocked out ACL tear. Our whole rookie class went down. And we still managed to win a playoff game, guys. Like, tell me that doesn't say a lot about our coaching. It says a lot about what these players think of each other, what they think of the coaching, and the trust they have in them, in the game plans. We had the 5th highest conversion rate in the red zone, my friends. We didn't even have any offensive weapons. Saquon Barkley missed time. He was injured the whole second half of the year. Where was this production coming from? Kenny Golladay making $16 million, didn't even play. They took him off the field. Tell me, when did we see this level of success with this lack of talent in the past? You can't find it. You can't find a time. That's why I'm confident in this group. That's why I feel like we have a chance to take a big step forward. That's why I feel like success is on the horizon. This roster is better this year objectively. We have a brand new center. We have really fast receivers. We have some really good quality guys. We have some great locker room culture building going on here. A lot of guys retained. We didn't let any big names really go this past offseason. I feel like we're building in the right direction. We have some big decisions coming up, but we're staying loyal to the players that have put the best on the field for us, and I feel as though they want to get a deal with Saquon done. I think that they are more so arguing with his agents than Saquon himself. And I think that's ultimately what the the kind of clash here is the agents want to get the most money, guys. Like, they want to get paid the most too, and they want to maximize everything. They're waiting. Saquon just wants it. Like, think about the anxiety of that. They have a couple of weeks left, I think it's July 17th is the last day that they can find a contract negotiation, middle ground. They have plenty of time, but from Saquon's perspective, he's like, I want to be here and I want this to be done. I don't want to have to worry about it anymore. I don't want to have to wake up thinking what's going to happen next. I don't want to leave New York. Like, I get his anxiety about this, but the Giants can't bow down to it. They have to stay to their guns. They have to follow the strategy. If you commit to a strategy, you commit to a plan, you got to commit all the way. And I think the Giants are doing just that, and I think that that's exactly where we need to be.
I'll agree with you there. I think that the Giants are taking the right approach to this this Saquon Barkley contract negotiation. But I will also say, if they don't get the deal done, I wonder what kind of effects it could have on the locker room. Because even when Saquon Barkley was posting pictures of him training in the Giants helmet, you had players like Xavier McKinney and other teammates commenting down below that they can't wait to have him back. They can't wait to see him back on the practice field with them. So I am hopeful that the Giants will get a deal done, almost more so just because I don't want to see any fallout occur within the locker room, within the culture of this team. Because as we discussed for the majority of this episode, the Giants' culture is in a really good spot right now. The last thing that I want to see happen is a contract dispute with a star player shake that up. So hopefully the Giants are able to figure this out with Saquon Barkley. And if they can't figure it out, I just hope that they're able to reduce the impact that it might have on the rest of his teammates. So again, I trusted Brian Dable. I trust in Joe Schoen. I think that they're going to figure this thing out with Saquon Barkley, and if they don't, I do trust in this leadership to maintain the culture in the locker room, but I do have my small concerns that this could have an effect on some of the other players, just watching their leader and their star player in the locker room fail to get the contract that he ultimately does deserve. And I think that's the main thing here with Saquon Barkley. Nobody's saying that he doesn't deserve this contract. He absolutely deserves it, but the market just doesn't give it to him. That's just not what the market's giving to running backs right now, despite the fact that he is worth that. He does deserve that, just not in this modern day and age of football, which is just a crazy time that we're in with this passing league. But of course, we've discussed the Saquon Barkley contract endlessly, and you guys are probably getting tired of hearing about it, and I'm getting tired of waiting for it to get done. So hopefully Saquon and the Giants can get a deal done sooner rather than later. And again, July 17th, 1 month from today, is that deadline. Hopefully the Giants and Saquon can figure it out by then as we roll into training camp. But positive vibes rolling into training camp. Of course, the Giants are on a little bit of a break now, just finished their mandatory minicamp. Will reconvene midway through July for training camp, and I'm excited for that. Hopefully I'll be able to go to a couple of practices. I know plenty of you will be going to them as well. Comment down below how excited you are for training camp and what your thoughts are on the New York Giants culture that they've been building for the last year and a half. Of course, make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. But without further ado, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
TVSO.